Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss a very interesting and a trending topic. So today we are going to discuss about an open AI. So basically we are going to discuss about a chat GPT, and I hope you have heard about the chat GPT. So basically today we are going to build a custom bot. So we are going to consume the open AI API in our Spring Boot application, and then we will use the chat GPT to ask any question, and then it will return the answer in a response. So we are going to see how we can integrate this chat GPT or the open AI API with our Spring Boot application, and in this way we will build a custom bot. So today in this lecture, I am going to create a Spring Boot project, and then I will show you how we can consume the OpenAI API. So basically we can means consume any third party API through the REST template or through the web client, or there are any other templates also. But today we will use the REST template to consume any third party API. Yeah, so this is OpenAI website, and in the developer section, you can see that there is an API reference. So basically, you can read this website to understand more about the API. So basically, it says that you can interact with API through HTTP request from any language like Python and all. So these are the steps to install the Python and all. Yeah, and the important thing is that you have to keep in mind that you can integrate means interact with the open AI API through the authentication. So basically there will be the token, so you have to generate this token here in this website. And yep, and I believe you have account in a chat GPT. If it is not there, then I will say that just create it, it is free. So you can create the account in the chat GPT or open AI, and then you can use this API to build your application, right? Yeah, so I have already like generated my account and I'm using this, so it is totally free. So to integrate with the open AI API, you have to use the authentication token. So you can create this token. So basically this is the page from where you can create the API tokens, which we will see later when we will yeah, so like when we will integrate, then we will create one API key, and then we will use this API key to integrate, right? So you can see that we have to use authorization and then barrier, and then you have to pass this token in the header of the request, right? So now let's start and let's integrate step by step. So this is will be the very useful lesson for you, right? So let's go to the Spring Initializer, and from the Spring Initializer, I'm going to build a Spring Boot project. It will be Maven type. Okay, and yeah, let's give artifact name. So here, this will be the basic dependencies I am going to add. I am going to add Spring Wave, and then I will use Lambook, and then I will use one more dev tool so that I don't have to restart this application. It will start automatically when I will save the class. Okay, so these three I will use. So let's generate project. Okay, put in the video part, save it. Let extract, it will be downloaded into GIF format. Now let's go to Eclipse, and here I need to import this project. So I will import it as a Maven. So you can see here I have successfully imported and it is importing all the dependencies downloading from internet, so we have to wait. And in the pom.xml you can see I am using web, dev tool and logbook, a very basic dependencies I have added. Here I will use artifact spring boot parent as a 2.6 because in that I am facing some error, that's why I'm using this. But you can use the latest version also, so that will not a problem. Yeah, so here you can see this our main class. Yeah, so now yeah, for this so here we are going to use a rest template, right? So for that I am going to create the bean for our rest template. So for that, let me create some folders, config, and inside the config folder I will create a new class, config. So this will be our component class. So let's mark it as at the rate component annotation, and this will contain the rest template. So I will create the bean of the rest template and then I will return it from here. Let's create a method rest template, rest template, rest template. Let's return this rest template from here. Let's mark this with a bean annotation. Yeah, so till here I have created a config class where I am going to return the rest template object. So let's create a controller quickly. Let's create a controller package first, and inside the controller package I'm going to create a controller class. But before that I am going to create the DTO. So let's create a DTO package first, then we will go ahead. This is DTO package where I will create the model class later. Okay, so till now I have created only a config class. Okay, so let me show you how this chat GPT API works. Okay, so here we have a playground button, right? So with this playground button you can write any question and you will get the answer directly. So let's search what is spring boot basically. Okay, so if I will hit a submit button, you can see it is giving us or providing us the directly answer by searching from the internet, right? So here we have an option to view code. You have to click on that, and this is in a curl. Okay, so you have to copy this and then you can use the postman. So this is the postman where I will import as a raw text. You can copy this and continue. So this API will be imported, right? So you can see that this is the API from the OpenAI, and here we have the headers, and you can see we have authorization. and barrier, and it required a token, and this is the body. So in the body you can pass your question. So right, so here we have write model. So model is if text dot this one is model, and we have the prompt. So prompt is basically a text message which you are going to pass, and these are some like variables. And in the header we have seen, in the authorization we have to pass. Now let's and this is your API, third party API from the OpenAI to so we are going to call this. Let's hit a send, and we are passing in the what is a Spring Boot. Let's send this. So you can see that we are getting an unauthorized, so we have to use an API key basically. So let's go to the website of OpenAI, and here in the API reference you have seen that we have a API key page, and you have to create a new secret key. For you it will be empty if you have not created any key. So chat GPT key, you can give any name, and then you can create this secret key, and you have to copy, and then you have to go to the postman. In the authorization part you can select the barrier token, and then you can paste this key. And now if I will send the request, then you can see the response. So we got the response, and in the response we got the keys like ID, object, and the created time, and this is the model. So there are different models which you can use, any model. And inside the choices, it is an array basically, and then we have object. In that we have a text. So basically text is a message, the response. So you can see that Spring Boot is an open source framework, something like that it is returning, right? So in the similar manner, in the body you can pass your question, and in the response inside choices you will get the answer, right? So this is your API. Through the API we are able to get the response. Now so now so this is the model you have seen, right? We have a model, prompt, and all. Now that this similar model we have to create inside our DTO package. So this is DTO, right? So let's create our class in the DTO. So first class I'm going to create as a message. So in the message I'm going to keep as a role. So basically we need to pass the role, and also we need to pass the content. So content will contain the prompt. Okay, so this content the message, and role can be like user or admin. So this role also we can pass, right, in this model basically. And here we are using the lombok, so I will use the data, and also I can use all argument constructor, and also no argument constructor, right? So this is my DTO class, a message class, in which I am defining role and content. The role can be user and admin, and the content will contain the message, right? Now let's create a different class. So now we have to create a model. Okay, and now we have to create a request body basically. So let's go the DTO package, and here we can create a request, GPT request class. And in this class I will create a model. So you have seen that we have a model in the request body, right? And then this is will be list message, and this is the message. So basically this message class which I have created just before, I am going to pass here. And this is a lombok, so I'm going to use a data. So this is the request model, request body. In the request body, I'm going to pass the model name and the message, and the message will will uh, contain this one, the role and the content, right? Now let's go ahead and okay. So let me add the constructor also for this. So source, so constructor I will use. So this is the constructor, and here I'm using a passing as a model as a string, and here I will take the message as prompt. So let's name this as a prompt. Fine, and can remove the super. So this model will store in this model, and this message. Uh, so this I'm going to create as an array, new array list. And then further this dot message I'm going to add, and here I'm going to create the message with role. So I'm going to give the role as user, and the content will be coming from your request. So let's pass this as a prompt, right? Yeah, so this is the constructor in which I'm storing this model in this model, and then message I've created with array list, and then adding this message and passing the user. Okay, yeah. Now I'm going to create a response. In the similar manner, we have to create a response also. So inside DTO itself, I'm going to create a new class for the response, chat GPT response. So this response class will content, you have seen that the data is coming in a choice, right? So this is the choice as an array. So we have to create an array, and private list. This is the choice. So basically I have to create a choice class also. So I'm going to create a inner class for this. Let's make this as an static class choice, and this choice class will contain basically two things: index, which is of integer type, and also it will contain the message. Yeah. So this is the inner class. Let's mark this class with the data, no argument, and all argument. This same thing I can do copy paste and add it here, right? So this is our response class. In the response class we have a choice, and choice is a list, and here so let's keep this as a choices. Okay, and here we have a choice class, inner class I have built, in which we have index and the message, right? So this is our response. Now I am going to yeah, so we have created our response. Now let's go and create a controller. So we have created already the controller package. Let's create our controller class, and in the controller class only I'm going to create an API, chat GPT controller class. So this is basically a REST template. So REST controller. Let's give a REST mapping also. REST mapping. Sorry, that is a request mapping. Yeah, request mapping. Let's give some URL. Let's make this as an open API. Open API, and in this controller, I am going to create the endpoint. So public string fetch. Let's give the name as in fetch, and yeah. So here you can use the request body also to take the message which is coming from the request, but I will use a request param to get to make this a very simpler for you to understand. For an example purpose, I am using I will pass this message in an URL as a request param. Okay, you can use means you have to pass this in a request body, that also you can do, but for a simpler form I am going to show you by passing in a request param. This is a request param. Yeah. So this will be our get mapping. I'm going to use the get method. Let's give the URL name chat. So here I am going to create the chat request object. So this content the model we have to pass and also the value prompt. Okay. So prompt will be received from your param value, but you need to get the model name, right? So I am going to define the model name in our like properties file. So let's open our properties file. Let's go to resource. So inside application.properties file, I am going to define the model. So chat gpt.model. So model name I am going to use at gpt uh, dash 3.5 dash turbo. Okay, so this is the model name I am using here. So let's use this and let's auto wire chat gpt.model. Let me copy this key. Yeah. So here in the controller class I am going to auto wire this and going to take this model value. So we can use private string and model, and here we can use the auto wire to get the value from the properties file. So this is auto wired, and sorry, we have to use at the red value to get the at the red value, and then here you can pass dollar bracket, and then you can give the name of that key. So it is chat.model. It will take the value from your properties file and then it will store in this model, and this model we are using here to pass the value. Okay, now let's move ahead, and let's so in the similar manner I am going to create the response object. Response new chat response, and in the response basically I'm going to use the rest template. So rest template also we have to auto wire private rest template. Let's use temp variable, and I have to auto wire this. Already I have created the bean in our config class for this. So temp dot now I am going to use the rest template to call the APIs. For that I am going to use post for entity. post for entity method, and let me check which is the suitable. And here we need the URL. So URL of the API we have to also define in our application.properties file, right? So let me define the URL for this. ChatGPT dot model, and this will be https API dot OpenAI .com/v1 slash chat slash completion, right? So this is our open AI API URL, api.openai.com/v1 slash chat slash completion, right? So we are going to use this URL in our controller class. Copy this, create, let's change the key name URL, and this URL I'm going to use here to pass. And further we have to use the request. So request I am passing here, right? This is good. And here we are going to use the, because we are going to transfer this means in a chat GPT response, so we have to provide the class name in which it will get the response will map to the chat response, basic, not request. Chat GPT response dot class. Okay, and then we have to return. So let's use the return, and so basically we will get the response, and in the response we have the choices. This is an array, and we are going to take the first index, and inside the first index we have the get message, and then we have the get content. So this will give you the exact content of in the response, or you can pass directly the whole object also. So here we have to use chat gpt response. Otherwise you can use, or directly you can extract the means text from the response, and then you can use it. Yeah, so this you can do. So post for here I'm going to use post for object method, not the entity method. Yeah, this is fine. So here this is the REST template, and I'm calling with the help of REST template. I'm calling the third party API, and this is a URL. This is the request body, and this is the response class in which it will get mapped. The response will mapped, and then I'm returning the particular content from here, right? Yeah, so these are the things you have to define. Let me save this. Yeah, so let's go. So we have saved this. Let's start our application. We have almost completed our implementation. Let's see. Okay, it's failed to start. Okay, let me stop. because already it is using some port. No worries, let me start again. Yeah, so now you can see that our tomcot has started on port number 8080. Okay, so now let's go to our postman, and from postman let's hit this open API. So this is open API, and then we have a endpoint with the chat, and in the and here we are passing as a request param as a prompt, and here we are trying to access what is spring boot. Okay, so let's hit. So you can see that this is a bad request. Okay, missing servlet required request value. Okay, let me check the controller. Okay, let me give this as a value. Let's go postman. Sorry, here it will be the value. My bad. Yeah, now you can see that 401 unauthorized because we are not using the API key here, right? So the API key which we have means generated here to check in the postman. So this API key we have to use in our Spring Boot also, right? So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to define this API. I'm going to take this API from the properties file only. So let's define here key, and this is our key, right? Now inside my config class only, I'm going to modify. So here in the config class, directly in the REST template, I'm going to use the interceptor, and then I'm going to use the header. Basically, this key you have to pass in the header into the every request. So basically, there are two ways. Either you can directly intercept here, or in your endpoint, you can create the header object, and with the header, by using the entity, you can add, and then you can pass in our post request. But here I'm going to use the interceptor. So let's create a REST template, and then use get interceptor. We have a method get interceptors. We have an add method. In the add method, yeah, so we have to pass the request. So this will be the request body exception, or basically I have already kept it. Let me copy this for the faster, otherwise I have to write this whole code. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so you can see that here I am using the interceptor, and then I am adding this authorization key into the header, and here we need the token, right? So for that we can take this token from our properties file in the similar manner, token, and then you can use at the rate value to get the token which is defined in your properties file. Properties file, let me copy this key. Eclipse, sorry, inside config, paste it here, so it will fetch and then it will store in this token, and then I'm using this token to add this authorization key inside my header, and then we are returning this template. So now the rest template will contain this key in the header. So when it will do the post method, means API call using the post method, then here with this template it will go inside the header, that authorization key, and now it should authorize and it should allow to access the OpenAI API. Okay, so let's go to our postman. This is our local host, so same, let's send. Yeah, and now you can see, okay, again we got bad request, message required property, what it says. Yeah, so we got error like 400 bad request message. Okay, so messages is required property in the request, so it is 400 bad request. Okay, let's go to Eclipse. Let's check the request class. Yeah, here you can see I'm using message, but Open API expecting to pass as messages. So let me add s. Yeah, let me save this. Okay, I will show you in Postman also. You can see here in this API in the body. So this is the Open AI API. Okay, so here they required the message. Yeah. So here it's required messages, but I was using message. So let me save this. Application is started. Now let's move to Postman. And here if I send again, sorry, I need to send to my local. Yeah, this is local, and in the prompt I am passing the question, what is Spring Boot? Let's hit. So it is interacting with the third-party API, OpenAI API, with this REST API, with the REST template. So we got the response that Spring Boot is an open source Java-based framework, like this, right? So in this way, we have seen that we have integrated with the third-party API, right? With the OpenAI API, and we have built our custom bot. So basically here you can ask any question. Let's say one more question we will write. Let's say program for finding even number in Java. So this we want a whole program through the ChatGPT. So here you can pass this question and you can hit the send button. It will go to our controller, then it will, with the REST template, it will interact with the OpenAI API, and then it will find the result, and directly it will give us in a string. So here you can see the response. We got whole program. Here is a simple Java program to find the even number, right? So this is the whole program, and also down they're explaining the steps, right? Yeah, so we have seen how to integrate your Spring Boot application with a chart GPT OpenAI APIs, and in this way we have seen that we have built a custom bot, right? So thank you and have a nice day.